And for families going through financial hardships, renting, yet alone owning a vehicle might not be an option. CBS 2's Erica Lee has more on a local car company doing good for the community.
For those going through economic hardships, Maverick Car Company is offering free short-term leases to individuals and families in need.
In the past, I'd say the past 5 years or so, we've had opportunities to help some folks out that were in need by giving them a car and provide transportation for folks that really needed it. And we found that in doing that, we were only able to help one family or individual at a time, and we wanted to find a way that we could do that on a little bit larger scale and help more families.
They recently shifted their approach to give vehicles on a 3-month basis and then make it available to someone else. The hope is that if they have that vehicle for the 3 months, they can use that resource and improve their situation and get back on their feet. And if you're wondering what the specific requirements are to qualify for a lease, Dawson says it's on a needs basis.
We do evaluate the different situations and look at who has the most need, and also the means for taking good care of the vehicle and making the best use of the vehicle. So there aren't any specific requirements. Again, we're just looking to help folks out that really need it.
Maverick Car Company's hope is not only to help struggling families and individuals, but to also inspire others to pay it forward.
So our hope would be that others that hear about this or find out about it might be able to think to themselves, well, what resources do we have to be able to help those that are really struggling, and maybe be able to leverage the resources that they have as a company or organization to be able to do some good as well. We hope that it does have that kind of impact for other folks that they hear about this, but most importantly, we're excited to help some families that are struggling or might find themselves in even more difficult circumstances with everything that's going on.
Erica Lee, CBS 2 News.
Is CBS 2 News at 10.
Paying taxes at the playground. Her children are here. What is going to happen? Who's got her kids?
A Meridian mother arrested at a playground sets off a firestorm. Protests at Meridian City Hall and in front of the arresting officer's house, and threats made against the mom herself. Sarah Brady got national attention, thrust into the middle of the debate over shutdowns and government orders. Turns out, she says, she didn't want the spotlight. In just a moment, you'll hear more of what she now thinks. But first, the arrest that started it all. Kleiner Park was open. The playground was not. Meridian police officers say they asked Sarah Brady and others several times to leave the playground. By some accounts, the back and forth went on for more than a half hour, with Sarah Brady saying at one point, "Why don't you just arrest me?" They did. She was booked for misdemeanor trespass, and then that same evening, she was back in front of Meridian City Hall for a protest.
I feel like I was singled out because I was the only person that was arrested. I wasn't the only person standing on the bark. I definitely wasn't playing on the playground equipment. I wasn't swinging, never touched them. But yeah, I do feel like I was singled out, and maybe it's because I asked too many questions.
That was Tuesday night. Now Sarah Brady is saying if she had it to do all over again, she would have just stayed home. CBS 2's Trevor Fay was there this afternoon for her very public apology.
I am on edge from the constant stress of children and trying to tend to their needs, of being bored and cooped up along with other responsibilities. However, this is not an excuse for my behavior and my part in what happened. While I can't go back in time and change what's happened, but the truth is I'm very sorry I let my frustrations get the better of me that day.
Sarah Brady is trying everything she can to make amends with the Meridian Police Department. After dealing with the fallout from her arrest this week, she just wants to put this behind her. After her speech, she tried leaving a letter of apology for the arresting officer, but the lobby was closed. In her letter to the police department, Sarah wrote that she had nothing to do with the protesters showing up at officers' homes and that she does not support or condone those actions in any way. More than anything, Brady says she's concerned with how out of control the protesting crowds have become since her arrest. She makes clear that she doesn't want Meridian police officers to suffer any more harassment. Right now, she says the world has bigger problems to deal with, and she hopes to put the past in the past.
The reality of the situation is that I have been stuck at home for the last 5 weeks, and as the rest of America has also watching this great nation and our God-given rights crumble before my eyes. I let the stress of me being in a house with 4 young kids, one with special needs, get the best of me that day.
In Meridian, Trevor Fay, CBS 2 News.
Perhaps you can use some of your stimulus money to, I don't know, pay for a takeout meal or something else maybe that you've got planned for that cash that is already starting to show up in some bank accounts. CBS 2's Brian Moran has been asking around, and here's what some of our neighbors will be doing with their money.
How will you spend your stimulus money? For Joe Gillis of Boise, the answer is on other people.
If and when I get it, I decided to use $200 of that to give to the food bank. And my challenge is to anybody else that really don't need the stimulus check or can afford to part ways with a part of it, to give it to a local charity, homeless shelter, or a women's shelter, to do the same.
Over in Nampa, Cassandra Dunbar has other plans. She has children, and one of them has physical challenges.
Okay, so we have a disabled baby. He has cerebral palsy, epilepsy. He's blind in one eye, and he's got some respiratory issues. He was born early, emergency C-section.
For Cassandra, her top priority is spending her money on spending quality time with her family.
Well, we are going to get bikes, and we're going to get one of those little bike carriages for the little ones and do some family biking. Get out of the house. We've been doing lots of walks, but we definitely want bikes.
Brian Moore, CBS 2 News.
Nonprofits across the Treasure Valley are feeling the pinch of the coronavirus crisis. CBS 2's Kristen McPeak shows us how they're trying to stay afloat.
Nonprofits across the Treasure Valley are closing their doors, like the YMCA here behind me, but they're still providing services for people all across our area, and they're needing to improvise. People here in the Treasure Valley rely on one another. That's why it's important that places like the Idaho Food Bank, the Salvation Army, and the YMCA operate. The Treasure Valley YMCA launched a fundraising campaign to raise $1.26 million. David Duro, the Treasure Valley YMCA president and CEO, says this 2020 campaign is more critical than ever. He says they didn't get federal assistance in the recent round of stimulus checks because they employ more than 500 people.
But it's really a problem for organizations like the Y, because we're not one of the big corporations, right, that have all these resources. We're dependent upon the community, and we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of delivering good.
By donating, this will help the Y stay staffed and keep programs operating.
But I've never seen anything like this, and it's heartbreaking in a lot of different ways for our staff team, for all the people that we serve. And we feel like in a lot of cases, people are probably sliding back. Those people that feel isolated and alone and not part of something bigger, they're going to feel even more that way.
The Y is still offering virtual classes, childcare for health professionals, and wellness checks on isolated members. The Salvation Army in Boise is also organizing support for the rising demand of childcare. They're providing childcare for the first responders and healthcare workers. In addition, they have a drive-through food bank.
We thought we were going to see a drop-off in volunteers for the food pantry, but we definitely have not. And people really have been stepping up to see how they can help in that way as well.
Even though right now can be challenging, Major Halverson says that the Salvation Army is ready during emergencies like these. Another place seeing an increase in demand is the Idaho Food Bank, with demands almost doubled. The food bank says donations of money are helpful now because they can be applied quickly. For for things like transporting food or getting supplies. We have a link to our website, idahonews.com, with some information on how you can help nonprofits during this time. In Boise, Krista McPeak, CBS 2 News.
The transition to digital learning is a reality for every school in our state, and that includes rural schools. But what's being done to make sure that even in remote areas, they're getting the resources and support that they need? In this week's Leaders in Learning, CBS 2's Sarah Jacobson got answers from the Vice President of the Idaho Education Association.
Our teachers were put into this position, and it's been a really difficult switch to be an interactive component with kids every day and with parents every day. And now a lot of our teachers are just worried about the well-being of our students. So we wanted to make sure that we had resources out there for them to be socially connected.
Stephanie Meyer, Vice President of the Idaho Education Association and President of the Boise Education Association, tells me that the IEA has online resources for keeping that connection, and they're working to support Idaho teachers across the state and within their union undergoing this transition.
There's no rules, there's no playbook, there's no how do we do this, so we kind of had to listen to our members and listen to families and see what they needed and then respond with that and make sure that they had the information that they needed and resources.
The Idaho Education Association spans the entire state and meets daily. She tells me that no school district in Idaho functions the same, and not every district has the same resources available.
That's where we get input from all of our region directors around the state, and then they give us feedback as far as what's happening in Driggs and Bonneville and Boise and Nampa, so that we get a big picture of what's happening.
She tells me that this statewide communication is essential in ensuring all of our students, teachers, and even parents are getting what they need.
We don't want, as educators, to put a burden on our families to educate their kids. This is not like anything we've ever done, and so I think finding out what kind of resources our families have is the first step.
She tells me that the Idaho Education Association will continue to work on behalf of Idaho's teachers and their students.
We need to be supportive, we need to give grace, we need to be flexible. Teaching and learning are going to look different, and that's okay. And our kids and our families and our communities need to feel like they're in this together. I think that's the big thing, is that we're in this together. Let's figure it out one step at a time, and then give each other grace and flexibility.
For Leaders in Learning, I'm Sarah Jacobson.